Hello everyone. Last week, OpenAI released the new Response API. So today we're going to introduce how to use Response API in data analysis. We're using the Twitter as example, and we're going to demonstrate that how we can do the file search and web search with the Twitter data and also with the new Response API. So to me, I feel like Response API is more like a combination of the chat completion API and the assistant API. So in my previous tutorials, we introduced a chat API like prompt engineering, image analysis, etc. We also introduced the assistant API like how to access data from the vector store on OpenAI. And now you can do everything with the response API. So it provides like the traditional chat completions. It can also do the web search so that you can retrieve the real-time data from the internet. It also supports the file search. So for example, if you have private data, you can create a vector store on OpenAI and you can use response API to retrieve those information. Because of that, the assistant API will be retired in 2026. And also for new users, OpenAI also recommend using the response API instead of the chat completion API. So they said they still support chat API. However, for new users, they recommend using the response API. Okay, so in our tutorial, so we are going to demonstrate that we are going to connect to an existing MongoDB database where we have the Twitter data being stored. We're going to extract those existing Twitter data. We're going to create a vector store on OpenAI in Python. So in our previous tutorials, we created vector database manually on the OpenAI website. So today we can do that in Python. We're going to use a file search and also web search with response API. And also response API is stateful, which means that it maintains the conversation history. We are also going to demonstrate that how we can combine the file search and web search together. So it will be a very powerful retrieval-augmented generation application. So first, we're going to install the OpenAI Python library and also PyMongo Python library. Just a reminder that if you have OpenAI Python library installed, you may want to update the OpenAI Python library. Just make sure that you can access the latest response API. We're also going to use a markdown and also display to show the markdown output from the response API. We're going to use AWS Secret Manager to retrieve our credentials, such as MongoDB, connection string, and also OpenAI API key. So now we're going to connect to our MongoDB database where we have some Twitter that being extracted. By the way, so now the free Twitter API can collect tweets. So you can collect about 100 tweets per month. So please feel free to use our collect Twitter data notebook to collect your tweets. So it is free now. So before we do this tutorial, so I already collected about more than 100 tweets that talking about with the keyword of the generative AI. So feel free to try to collect your own tweets. So now I'm going to extract all the tweets from the MongoDB database. So I only extract the text. And here I want to collect all the tweets because I don't have too many tweets. And next, we're going to convert the result into a list and convert that list into a JSON document. And we also want to create an in-memory JSON file. So that's this part. You can also choose to export the data into your hard disk like a real JSON file and then upload to MongoDB, to OpenAI Vector Store, so you can do that as well. Again, I don't have too many tweets, so only 183 tweets. And now we're going to initialize our OpenAI client. So we're going to get our API key and also create this client. So now we're going to do the file search. So before you use Response API to retrieve data from your vector database, you need to create the vector database. So the idea is that you can create a vector database on MongoDB like we did earlier, or you can just upload all your files to OpenAI and also create a vector database on OpenAI. So to do that, so first we're going to create a vector store on OpenAI, and we're going to call it tweet base, so tweet knowledge base. And then you will receive the ID of the vector store. And next, we're going to upload the files. So in this case, we're going to upload our JSON files to OpenAI, and then you are going to receive a file ID. And finally, we're going to attach the uploaded file to the vector store so that we can create embeddings. So you can see here, we're going to create to attach the file to the vector store, where we're going to pass our vector ID and also file ID. Okay, so now we have the vector database that has been set up. It's pretty simple. So if you have a lot of data that you want to create a vector store, so you can choose either OpenAI or the MongoDB. I think MongoDB might be cheaper, but OpenAI is much easier to do that. So it's much easier with OpenAI to create a vector store. So now let's do a query. So the query is that the latest development in generative AI. So right now we are using the vector query. So we're not using the response API yet. So now we're going to return the top 5 results. So you can see that for each result, we are only showing the first 100 characters. So that as 2023. You can see the relevant score is 0.51, so it's not that high. And our next result, the tweets, and also you can see the score is not that high. Okay, so those are the returned tweets by using the vector search. All right. So now let's look at our response API. So in our response API, so the syntax is pretty much same as the chat completion. So you just call the response create. You can choose a model that is supported, and also you can also define the temperature. In this case, we didn't define temperature. You can also define the input where you can provide the, like say, it will be a user, and the content will be the same query, which is the latest development in generative AI. You can also provide instructions, which we'll show that later. So basically, it's the same syntax and the chat completion, almost the same. Okay, so let's see how the response API will answer this question. So now we are doing this without the vector search. So let's look at the result. So you can see as update in 2023. So you can see that probably the models, the GPT-4 is trained with the data that up to 2023. So those are the updates about the generative AI. Okay, so here we can see we are asking the model the latest development in generative AI without the vector search. And you can see they provide data that is the response that is the latest update in 2023. All right. So now we're going to incorporate the vector search. So here it is the same query. And however, we provided the tools that we call file search and the ID will be the vector ID the vector store ID that we just created. So now the response API will query the data that in our vector store, which we contains a bunch of tweets that I collected last week, and then it will return the combined response based on the results in the vector store. Okay, so now let's see the result, and hopefully we'll get the newer or the most recent information based on the tweet data. All right, so now you can see here those are the recent developments. So industry impact, and also technology advancements. So like a company like NVIDIA, Elon Musk, XAI, and also challenges and concerns like ethical implications, misuse of generative AI, etc. So those are the combined results from the vector store. So the vector store contains 180 tweets. So now we can see what the queries from the vector store. So it's not the direct response from the model that based on the trained data that was in 2023. All right. So next we're going to try the web search. So web search allows the model to retrieve the real-time information. So it will be we'll be able to collect the latest information from the internet. So here we're going to again the input will be the same query. So the latest achievement or in generative AI, and the tools will be the web search. So type is web search. Okay, and now let's see the result. Okay, so this will be the real time. So you can see now the Adobe AI enhancement. So 2025, and also NVIDIA 2025, and also Tencent open source 3D, Google Gemini, and also it's other AI other challenges, and they also provided the resource, so you can click those URLs. Okay, so those will be the latest response. All right, so another feature of the response API is that it is stateful response. So which means that OpenAI maintains all the conversations. So if you want to retrieve the previous conversations, you just provide response ID. So for example, in our analysis, we said we will get this web search response. So if you want to retrieve that same response, you can just call that ID. And you can see it's the same response. And so here this is the first 100 characters. Okay, so because it is a stateful response, you can do the continue query. So for example, here we're going to say, okay, so you're going to do a web search, but I want you to find different news. And here I tell the model that, okay, so the previous ID is this web search response ID. So that means that the model will know that, okay, the history of the conversation. So you know those are the existing news. So hopefully they will help me find out additional news. So the different news about generative AI. And now let's see the result. Okay, so now we can see we do have additional news. So those are different information that search find out additional news. All right, our last example is that we can combine the file search and web search. So this is a very convenient way. So you can do that with chat completion, but in chat completion you need to do the vector query and also web search query, and then you need to combine both results. So probably you need three different chat API calls. However, now you can just do it in a single API call. So for example here, we're going to do the file search and we are going to do the web search together. And we provide this instruction. So we ask the model that retrieve the results from the file search first. And we are using the same query, that is what are the latest advancement in generative AI. And then we're going to use web search to expand the results with the new resources. So we find out in our existing Twitter data, so what they talk about the latest generative AI advancements, and then we put those information to do the web search, and we find out to verify those informations or find out resources of those discussions, and then we return the result. Okay, so let's try that. And let's see the response. All right, so now we have those combined search response. So you can see they have the enhanced AI capabilities and also AI integrations, Adobe, Tencent. So I believe those are from the web search, and also ethical considerations, etc. They also provided the reference, so resources that you can click those URLs and you can read those articles online. Okay, so this is a very simple demo of how to use Response API in data analysis. So I think the biggest advantage of the Response API is that you can combine the multiple different type of searches like file search and web search together, so that if you have private data in your private database, and you can query those database, you can query those information with a vector query. And if you want to get real-time information from the public internet, and you can do that at the same time.